I oh, hi everybody. Because some of y'all don't even know me. My name's Mike. My name's Mike Wells. I do self-oriented inner learning, soil work. I'm a somatic experiential learning facilitator. I help folks attune to themselves through body-based conversations, activities, experiences, etc. And I wanted to do this space with the ending of winter and the beginning of spring, with the lunar cycle that is coming to its close, also with an eclipse on top of it. Uh, and especially with spring, and a whole lot of us that are thinking, okay, I want to go outside. I want to start dating again. I want to, do all of these things that you want to start. And yet, there are some things that are still going on that haven't ended yet. And so I wanted this to be a two-parter that went back to back, but of course, some of y'all know that I had some lung issues last week, so I had to postpone it. But it really turns out to be pretty good because it's the second part is going to be about 3 weeks from now, April the 18th. You can see the tile over in the chat, and so that'll give you some space to consider, contemplate, and participate in some of the endings that you have before we get into the staying present, being present with our beginnings. And so we're going to be dealing with some ending things here. And so before I put the orientation into the chat, I want to grab some of these hands. So we have 5 of them. We only have 45 minutes. So let's please just go ahead and keep our shares brief, because this isn't the part where we're trying to get deep. This is just like what showed up, and then we're going to move on to the next because we're going to get deeper later. All right, we have Don, Kelly, Mia, T, and Amalie. We'll have those be our 5 shares for now. And let's go, Dawn.
Howdy again. Okay, so for me, I love the title. Mike is pretty brilliant. We, in our practices together, we talk about our bodies being much more like a plant with our stems and our roots and our core and how they
Mm-hmm.
need to be fed and the sun and the water, and air. And so when I read it, especially because you put that little leaf icon, don't leave before you leave, I took it, interpreted it as, you know, and also staying present for our endings, which is something I'm definitely going through right now. The ending of a
Mm-hmm.
19-year relationship. It's finally coming into fruition. Like the attorneys are involved. They actually had their first meeting together today. This is happening. This is happening. This isn't a what or but or when if anymore. So don't leave before you leave. I thought it meant keep focusing on yourself, your self-care, keep feeding those roots. Some others don't know, but I'm physically drawing a tree that on every day that I grow a little bit with each therapy session or each small victory where, right now it's just a couple roots holding this little twig into the ground. And eventually I want it to be a sketch that grows into a big, beautiful tree full of leaves and even flowers and blooming. And, I hope to be there this summer, maybe optimistically. But so again, I took it as really stay grounded in yourself, focus in the now, keep taking care of yourself, be very aware of yourself, even though you're going through a huge change.
Mm.
And I'll just end with, I say this is one of my mantras, Mike, you're very familiar with, like, this is what happened to me. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going through. Everything else is temporary. I am permanent. So basically, I'm just saying, water your damn self while you're getting out of your bad situation. So when you do get out, you're not thirsty.
Ooh.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and put that quote back in the chat. That last part
Nice.
about watering yourself so you ain't thirsty when you get out, put that over in the chat because people need to see that. Thank you, Don. All right, Kelly.
Oh my God. Mike and Czar, two of my favorite humans, and so many people in this room. Why am I so blessed, so lucky? I feel like a millionaire that I can just pop on and have this conversation. And Mike, I can't believe you said you can't go deep. Um, but anyway, Mike, how are you?
I am better.
Nice. I've been sending you lots of healing vibes into the ethers through the quantum field. So I'm happy to hear you're feeling better because we
Thank
all
you.
really care about you. Um, so when I saw this, the title of this room, "Don't Leave Before You Leave," staying present for our endings, I was like, that really sums up um, my conundrum I got into with complicated grief and nervous system. Uh, what would I call it? All entangled. Like I picture like a nervous system and then like a ball of yarn, just like all like messed up.
Uh-huh.
Because I absolutely left, 100% left. Um, before I left. And so now I'm going back to where I left, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. It
Yeah.
does.
I mean, and it's a lot fucking harder to go back. And sometimes you got to do it if depending on your survival situation. I 100% don't recommend it. Um, so that's kind of what I thought, if
Okay.
you have the wherewithal, um, go get all the support you need and don't leave before you leave. Okay, bye.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Kelly. Right. Mia.
Oh, sorry, I can't find the mic. Hi, Mike and Zar and everyone.
Hello.
Don't leave. I don't leave before you leave. What comes up to me is my yoga practice. I used to practice yoga, and so that for me is not fully present or fully immersed in my entire practice. You know, um, just because you practice yoga from beginning to end, yeah, like there were moments where I did enter the room, did all the yoga, but I wasn't present in the moment. So I have felt,
Mm.
yeah, I have felt like I have found myself wanting to leave early at times. And but even if I left early, like for example, the class is 75 minutes, I only have 40 minutes. But if I was very present, then it's like I leave. I did not, leave
Mm-hmm.
before I leave. It's like for me, that's the feeling of not rushed and distracted or very connected to the practice, embracing each movement, each breath, from movement to stillness, and the whole experience was very fulfilling, so that comes up to me. Now I have a lot to say because that okay, that actually my relationship,
Let's
I was not good. Yeah, it was not
yeah,
good.
let's not go too far into it.
Let's
We
not
got a
do
whole bunch of
that.
time left.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up too, that yoga practice thing, because I've definitely been in my own little yoga journey like 10 years or so ago, and I remember those 90-minute classes that I was already gone at like 45 minutes. I'm like, man, I don't even want to be here no more, but I'm gonna keep on doing these movements though, but I ain't here though. Yeah, thank you, Mia. Go ahead, T.
Yeah, try to be real as quick as I can because I want to listen to this. So I would say, um, for me, to just avoiding that double mindedness, of not really knowing what your yeses are and what your nos are.
Mm,
Not really knowing what your negotiables and non-negotiables are. How are you gonna really know that if you're not present? For me, being present is allowing yourself to endure whatever comes on that side of love, even if it's pain, and not try to sit in that fear of I don't want to. I'm gonna numb myself so I don't feel anything and then leave because I feel like it's gonna come up later. So I want to hear y'all's perspective, but that's what I got from.
okay. Thank you very much, T. And last year, I'll go to Amalie right now.
Oh, hi guys. This is the first time I don't know how to talk, I'm not a very good talker, but don't leave before you leave for me is more like you have not to ignore your emotions and the whatever incidents you went through or you're going through, and you have to solve it. And if you think still there is something you cannot solve and it hurts and you cannot sleep or whatever and you cannot function, you just have to find different resources until things sorted out between you and yourself, because sometimes time can make you forget things, but make sure these are not some major points, because major points needs to be solved very, very, like, I don't know, like very, very uh like you don't want to carry it for your life. You just have to start work with it and solve it. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Amelie. And I'm gonna tell y'all, y'all did, y'all are on it. Y'all are
Yeah.
very much on it.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. So I'm gonna put over in the chat the little orientation to what we got going on today. So right up at the top of that, there's that picture. A lot of y'all know that picture. That's my more like plants picture. It was what Don was referring to, where we have our blooms, our head, hands, and feet in blue, our mental space, our red, our arms, legs, and neck, our physical space, our stems, and then we have those roots, that purple area, our back and chest and belly, where all those vital organs are, right in that torso, where those emotions are. Emotional, purple, blue, mental, red, physical. So you can see that right there. We're more like plants than the machines we're taught to be. We're taught to do these zeros and ones, the binary, the extreme parts of the spectrum. And so that leaving before you leave, the original story from it was just something that popped out of me when I was facilitating a weirdness camp quite a few years ago, and it went from Thursday evening to Monday afternoon. So it was already like a pattern interrupt of the regular weekend work week dynamic. And so when Sunday came along, everything was really great. People were present as hell, up until that Sunday. I woke up that Sunday and things felt weird. Things felt off. I didn't feel as grounded what I woke up to the days before that. And so I noticed that there was a whole lot of buzzing, a whole lot of like separation, a whole lot of dissociation happening in the space. There were a whole lot of people that were already thinking about Monday, already thinking about work. And so in the morning announcements, I stood up there and I wanted to address it, but I didn't know how I was going to address it. But as soon as I came up to the mic, it just came up out of me. Don't leave before you leave. We still have some time. The vast majority of y'all are still going to be here. But I know that, and I can feel that a whole lot of y'all are already thinking about what y'all have to go back to. But we're still here. You're going to be here for another 24 hours plus. So don't leave before you leave. And just like Don was speaking to before, you're staying with those roots. You're staying present with those roots, just like a plant. When a plant goes through winter, it doesn't die. All of its resources that it can have and does have just goes into the roots. It feeds the roots, feeds the roots, feeds the roots until the environment outside of it, up top, can allow for those resources to
So,
then come forward and then bring a leaf out. Who is that unmuted? Is there somebody unmuted in here? Make sure that you're muted if you are. Oh, there he is. Amalie, you're still unmuted. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I got
Okay,
it.
thank you. Um, so yeah, feeding those roots, being present with yourself, that vital part of you is the part of us that we get taught away from. The reason why I have that picture the way that I have it is that's the way that we have our society orients the hierarchy. The hierarchy is the blue, the mental space. We feed all of that information there, and then the society requires us to take that blue and make the rest of us do what blue says. Defines us how it defines us, labels us how it labels us, gives us the information, and then requires us to process it. And at the same time, it's so heavy, it's so top heavy that our head, hands, and feet are the only things that really truly matter. Then we get underneath that. The second class is the physical. Okay, we do these things. We have these beasts. We have beasts of burden. Our bodies are beasts of burden that take us to do all the things that blue requires of us. But then it's that purple that resources us. That's where our air is. That's where our blood is. Excuse me, where our blood gets recycled and re-resourced, and it fuels the rest of us. That's the part where a lot of our wounding is. Our wounding stays. Our wounding affects the most deeply. When we're in intimate relationships, that's the part, that's where we're living in. That's where we're inviting people into. And that harm can happen the most. So that leaving, if we're looking at this as a plant, our leaving is in that blooms. Hands having to be busy, scrolling with thumbs, poking and prodding and writing. Heads thinking, overthinking, continuously thinking, always thinking about what to make the rest of us do. And so when it comes to this transition from winter to spring, I like to say that trees don't just throw out leaves for no reason. Leaves grow out. They're not thrown out, they grow out. But they only grow out when we have the resource enough available for that thing to show up. So that leaving before you leave, not thinking about that next thing, being present for the thing that's ending. Now, a lot of us live in societies that pressure us into no, you always have to be thinking about the next thing because you never know when that thing is going to come. But it's hard for us to do an ending of something and the beginning of something at the same time when we've been taught to do an either or binary. And so being present will allow us to have access to what am I supposed to be doing here that can address as much of what's necessary as possible. So when I'm talking about staying present for our endings, I'm saying be just like everybody else that shared what came up for them when they saw the title. It's being present. If I'm here, then I will know what to do because I'm a read and response type of person. I am an interactor. We are social creatures and we are interactive, creative creatures. When something shows up present, there's so much that's encoded in us and so much experience that we have that we do know what to do. The thing is, are we oriented to take care of ourselves, take care of our roots, or are we just trying to take care of the blooms, what people see, what the presentation is, et cetera, and so forth? So that's what that don't leave before you leave comes down to. What you got to say on that, Czar?
Man, I'm over here yelling. I'm like, yes, woo, that was good. Glad I had my mic. I'm glad I had it muted because I'm sitting there like, yes, the pieces of one tending to the roots, and even because I picture that as I always picture that as going to that most authentic self. There's so much concern that we have about how a minute ago when you just said a lot of times our hands get busy with how things are going to look, what people are going to think, what's going to be, and we get caught in all of the noise, and we're
Mm,
missing what's really happening in here in our heart. I've asked the question even in a lot of our groups. It's like, what's happening in your heart? And I get a lot of story, and a lot of story is more so what's happening outside,
right, right.
and not really what's happening right here with you right now in here with. I hear what happened, but what's going on with you in here right now?
Mm,
And how do we tap back into what's your worth, your authenticity, it looks like life on the outside looks dead, but like you said, it's not. You haven't died.
yes.
There's some things that have changed and shifted. So I don't know, man. I was just over here like, woo, yes, yes, uh-huh, yeah. Hmm.
I dig that. And my version of that prompt for you, you do that prompt for people, what's going on in your heart. My version of that are the questions that I use in my circles. It's my questions are
Mm,
all about, hey, can you get curious about what's underneath those
yeah. Wow.
blooms? What's
Hmm.
going on in your body? What's going on in your gut?
Hmm.
What's going on in your heart? What's going on in your belly? What are those hackles going on your back? All of those things,
Hmm.
the experience and especially the emotional and the sensory experience that we have. Because like you said, the story can continue to go and go and go, and we
Hmm.
can talk about the whole maze, but who's in the maze? Where are you in the maze? How do you feel in that maze,
Yes.
etc.
Yep.
Whew.
Wow.
So yeah, don't leave before you leave. All right. So underneath that, I'm going to put this in there because I had that as a part of it too. when it's done versus when I'm done. That's one of those things too, that when we're talking about don't leave before you leave, it reminds me of what Mia was talking about being in yoga. And I resonate with that also because I was just like what I was saying after her share is there's a time when I'm really just done. Like there's no more information that I can take in. If I'm just here, I'm going to be a husk because I'm already thinking of something else or my capacity is filled. And even if I try my hardest, I'm not going to be able to stretch that capacity in this moment to fit any more experience, sensation, or information in me. And so when I'm thinking about when it's done, we're talking about the things that are outside of us, the structure, the timing, the mechanics. Like a meeting goes for an hour, or you're going to be meeting with your boss and it's going to be a half hour, and even if y'all just have 10 minutes worth of information, we're still going to use that 20 minutes for something else when it's done. We're talking about school, a school year. You have your 9 months in the school year or your 4 years of college, when it's done. But when and that all of that is just like the mechanics that are put in place for us, the mazes that are put in place for us to go through. But then what about when I'm done? My organic self. My organic self has a capacity. My organic self has a rhythm and has cycles to it. And so that dance of when it's done versus when I'm done, a lot of that gets skewed for us in our family life. Excuse me. In our family life, us as children have to adapt ourselves to our parents' style and timing. Like they have the structure. They put the structure down for us. This is when you go to sleep. This is when you wake up. This is when we're going to eat, et cetera, and so forth. This is what the timing is. And now you have to get ready for school. So this is when we do that. And this is when we go on vacation. And this is how we do our weekends. And so we have all those mechanics that are put in place when we're really little. But when we're really little, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're still trying to learn. Our capacity is huge in terms of curiosity and activity. We learn by doing. And so we want to move around, touch all the things, put all the stuff in our mouth and all kinds of stuff. And we get acclimated to the structure and the timing and the mechanics outside of us and away from the capacity and the rhythm and the organics of us. When it's done versus when I'm done can get us really trapped, especially when it comes to our intimate partner in our relationships. There's a life cycle to all relationships, every single one of them. The relationship we have with ourselves, the relationship that this body has with this planet, the relationship that all the relationships have a life cycle. And some of us, I've heard in so many circles, and I know for myself very deeply, that a relationship was over before I allowed it to be over or before it ended underneath me. It only lasted this long. It was going to end. And somehow, some way, I tried to inject some life in it and made it into a zombie. It was done, but I wasn't done. I continued something way past its shelf life. And that's a lot of us do that with our justifications, with our explanations, with all the coping that we've done with our wounding that we've gotten, growing, getting up to that point of that relationship. And then there's so many times where we're done with a relationship and we do that same thing. We justify, we explain away, we dismiss okay, my capacity for being treated like this is at its limit. But I'm not supposed to leave because dot dot dot. Or I can't leave because dot dot dot. I will get this kind of judgment if I dot dot dot. So when I'm done, when my capacity and my rhythm says, hey, this is it for this. How much do I align with that? How present can I be with that? So I don't leave what's actually present for me before that leaf sprouts out. That leaf that says, hey, you know what? I think we need to break up. Is that leaf that wants to come forward, but we leave that and we say, you know what? I don't want to take that leaf out just yet. I'm going to hold it and keep on putting it somewhere else.
Mm.
What you got for that, Czar?
You talking to us. You talking to me. I'm gonna speak for me. Let me not speak for the rest of everybody else. You talking to me. It's so yeah, it's I think that there's that reality. And I hear a lot of people say that a lot of times too. It's like I was our justifications, you know, that are there that tend to come in there. The only thing I see sometimes what I see though is when people come to this light and come to this realization, I see a lot of lack of grace towards themselves for having had those. I stayed too long, and it's like instead of just recognizing, yep, that's what we tend to do sometimes, people go into a loathing over it or something, or
Mm-hmm.
somewhat of condemning themselves for it, not realizing that some of these things, it's this way. We're social beings, of course. Sometimes we justify things. We want to stay somewhere long, or we want to get out quicker, or whatever the case may be.
Uh-huh.
But the lack of grace that sometimes comes from us after we've come to the revelation of whatever that ending may be. I should have this, or I should have saw this, or I should have done that. But man, you speaking to us.
Mm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really does
Yeah.
depend on where we have where we're placing the core of our attention, the core of our awareness,
Hmm.
the core of our
Hmm.
presence. Is it in our head, hands, and feet? Because if it is, it's going to be ungrounded.
Yes.
There's not going to be a direct or close enough relationship to what's happening deepest inside of us for us to make a considered decision that considers the risk that we're taking by staying slash going or just not being present.
Hmm. Oof. Yeah. Wow.
All right. So we
Let's
got
see.
about 20 minutes left. We got a couple of hands here. I'm gonna tap in and see. So let's make these shares that y'all are gonna have here particularly short because I do want to get into the second part, and then I also want to do at least one of the practices that I had online for this part. So
Okay.
Sasha,
Good.
Michelle, and
Sasha.
then Dawn.
Hi, I will make it short. I love what I've been hearing so far. When I looked at the title, "Don't Leave Before You Leave," and staying present for our endings, I'm currently separated from my husband, so we're living different places. And for me, I think when I first left, it my mind automatically went to, like you said, when like in childhood, like I was trying to think about what to do next, not in a relationship, but like personally, like, oh, maybe I can get another degree, or let me see what
Mm-hmm.
job I can apply for. Like, I don't know. I guess I was just trying to keep my mind busy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, within me noticing that that was not a healthy thing to do, I started focusing on the facts of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, my question to you now is, because I'm like kind of ruminating on the things that did happen, since now I'm acknowledging it fully, you know?
Mm-hmm.
um like I feel like I'm thinking about it every day, like, oh my god, and I'm writing it down, not writing it like on paper, but like I have in my notes on my iPhone, like I'm writing what
Yeah.
he did to me, and like there's like facts, like 30 facts or like 10 facts, that I'm like reviewing, because with narcissists, they can kind of like screw your mind. So it's like he will say these things and happen, but they happen, so I'm reminding myself, realizing and accepting what occurred,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that's my way of staying present, but I also don't want to ruminate and then
Right.
just go down this rabbit hole every day, so
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I'll say this. So I do a circle on Saturdays and Sundays at noon Eastern. That's called Tending to Our Sense of Self, and it really is about being with our bodies, being present with our bodies, and especially our physical and emotional selves, the sensations
Hmm.
of us. And that's the thing that would be the thing that would say that I would invite you into is don't just document the things because those are, like you said, those are facts, and you're reminding yourself, but you're also spinning around in that blue section. The more that you can
Right.
take those things and sit with each one of those things so that you can remember the sensation in your body and then
Uh-huh.
get into the emotional impact of it so that you can process the feelings that you have around it, that's
That's
going to
my
be
problem. That's the
that's going to be
disconnect.
that's the disconnect. Yes,
Yes, that's the
ruminating,
disconnect.
and I'll just say this also just about thoughts and rumination, that the same way that pain shows itself through our discomfort, our emotional wounds show themselves through our thoughts. So we're
Okay.
those thoughts that you're thinking are your wounds talking. And so they're trying to ask you to come in here so that you can be with them and then process
Uh-huh.
the feelings out of them.
Yeah, and in a weird way, I'm also justifying my actions, like feeling better each day. Like, this is a good decision. Like, I did the right thing. But
Hmm.
I'm not fully tapping into the feelings part.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I invite you into that circle. Go ahead and tap on my face, and then you can see, and then go to the rooms tab on that, and then you'll be able to see that where that circle is, and be able to go there, get you a little reminder, and go from there.
You
Thank you,
said it's
Sasha.
on Saturday and Sundays?
Yep, Saturdays and Sundays at noon Eastern.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Happens a lot.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say with my first marriage, which lasted 20 years, and it was very long ago, but this was the abusive narcissist torturer. But that's not who I married. I married a funny, smart guy that then got into cocaine and became a monster. But uh, it was just very painful. And I had to end the relationship um, because he was beating us all to death, really. And it was just, I was beginning to be scared to go to sleep. So I ended that relationship. I didn't think I would ever forgive him for what he had done to our children or to myself, but I did. And I did it by just remembering why did I fall in love with him to begin with? Well, he was funny. He was smart. He was kind to other people. And I just tried to remember that that person's still there in his heart somewhere. Maybe the devil's taken it over for a bit, but he's still in there somewhere. And even after he tried to murder me, we were able to still talk on the phone about the kids very decently and actually become friends again. Not that I would meet him for lunch or anything else, but we would talk on the phone every week. And I'm glad that I did that, because if I
Mm,
didn't do it, he's dead now and I wouldn't have an opportunity to do it. And I know my Catholic school guilt, and that's where I would be. So just wanted to share that.
yeah, appreciate
That's
that.
how I did it. I mean, I
Yeah,
had to go back and deal with it.
right. Thank you, Michelle. All right. And Dawn.
Very briefly, I just wanted to say Czar and Mike and to everyone else in the room for their shares and in the chat and the support and everything. I know it wasn't, but I really feel like this room was created just for me. Everything's really, really resonating. And so I just wanted to out loud, instead of saying it in the chat, that how much I appreciate you. And I'm so grateful, and I'm looking forward to part two. Bye.
Mm, thank you, Dawn. Yeah, and it was. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I fancy myself a very connected being. I fancy myself a human version of a tree, and I do the things that show up for me are a product or created from and cultivated from the people that I serve. And so, if you're here, you're most likely being called from that. So I appreciate you being here. All right. So over in the chat, I'm gonna put some questions for y'all because y'all know me and my questions. So these questions aren't going to be for answering because we only have a little bit of time. I'm going to put these questions in there for you to sink into and sit with as we get into this breathing practice that I'm going to offer us. This breathing practice I'm going to offer, I really hope and invite y'all to take it into these next 3 weeks between the two sessions that we're having in this master class, so that you can really start to be more and more present with all kinds of endings that you have in your life. I just listed a few that the majority of folks really kind of understand and know about. And so, how have you? Oh, I should have said interacted, but let me go ahead and because yeah, my little Virgo self won't let me keep that shit there. How have you interacted with the end of a season, school year, work day, work week, relationship? And so those are like very, a few scattered out little pieces of endings, but we have so many different kinds of endings that we have in our lives. And so just sink into those. And then I have a spectrum of interaction underneath that. So it's like we have avoid or fight. Which one do you do more of when it comes to the end of any of those relationships? Do you delay it or do you hurry it? Do you want it to? Do you just like try to hurry it along? Like yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's okay, uh-huh. So you speed past all the juiciness at the end, or are you trying to? That's the hurry part. But or are you trying to delay it? Like you're trying to drag it out. Like the folks that put their hands up, 3 minutes left in the circle, knowing you have a 30-minute share. That kind of thing. Do you dismiss? Do you push it away? Do you cast it aside, or do you embrace? And so there's different things, there's different ways that we can do endings, but usually what I find when working with folks or asking these questions is that we have a pattern of how endings show up for us. That can come from, again, family life. It can come from attachment style. That comes from family life. It can come from our wounding and the coping that we have around wounding. And it's like, no, I don't deal with endings at all. I don't deal with them well because dot dot dot. And so I want you to sink into those as we get into this breathing practice for this last little 10 minutes. And so this breathing practice that I'm going to offer us is all about playing around with our surface breath versus our deep breath. A lot of folks that show up in my sense of self circle realize how shallowly they breathe. It's that surface level breath. And it's not something that's like, oh, I'm going to I'm choosing to breathe in a shallow way. It's just that I only need that much breath, or quote unquote need that much breath, or only have time for that much breath when I'm dealing with the blooms, the head, hands, and feet. They only need so much. So I only breathe as much as my head, hands, and feet need. But we have a whole rest of our ecosystem that needs breath. And so when they get into that space and I have us breathe deeply and slowly, there's a whole lot more of you that gets resourced. And so with this, playing around with this, we're going to do a lingering breath, a lingering expired breath practice. Now, what that is, so when we're talking about expire, it's breathing out. Inspire, breathing in air, breathing out air. And what we're going to do with this breath is as we're breathing, we're going to pause our breath with all of our air out. Usually, when we're told to hold our breath, the first thing that we do is take in as much air as possible so we know, okay, I have this much oxygen store and I'm going to hold it until that oxygen store is no more. And then I'm going to breathe out and then gasp it back in. This time, we're going to do a quote unquote holding our breath with our air out. That's going to be our physical feeling of an end, sitting in an end. It's like being in winter. Being in winter, we get into winter and everything seems cool. Some of us have snow and we're like, yay. But by the time we get to the depth of winter or like 2.5 months into winter, we're like, damn, I want this to be over. Oh my God, this needs to be done. And this is what's going to happen in you. This might happen in a lot of you when it comes to this breath. And how it's going to work is actually, I'm not even going to tell you how it works because that's for your brain. We're going to actually start to do it. So I'm going to have everybody go ahead and take a deep breath in, let it out, and then in and out, in and out. But I want you to stretch those edges of that breath in and out, in and out. Now keep that same rhythm, that same pace, and out. Now each one of us has a different capacity of breath. So you might have a speed to your breath, you might have a slowness to your breath, but you're going in and out. And there's a time in that. I'm going to count us into this time. We're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to breathe out for 4. Breathing in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. So keeping that same pace, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pause for the same amount of time that it takes for us to go through that full cycle. So we're going to pause for 8. We're going to go in 4, out 4, pause 8, in 4, out 4, pause 8. Now, your only job, as it were, in this is just to pay attention to your breath. Just be with that breath, be with that count. The rest of you is going to do what the rest of you is going to do. Your mind's going to want to say stuff, your body's going to start to feel stuff, and emotions might start to surge up. But all you do is just pay attention to that breath and that count. The rest of you is going to happen and you're going to notice it. You can take note of it, but don't get pulled away from it. We're going to be in that expired breath for a little bit so you can start to notice how you feel about that ending, staying in and being present for that ending. Okay? So let's go ahead and get that breath started. First, we're going to go in and out, and I'll let you know when we're going to pause. I'm going to do that count a little bit slower, just so you have some time to bring in some air and it can come into you, and then you can let that out. All right? So go ahead and let all your air out, and then we're going in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. One more time. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Now back to your regular breath. Whatever you need to do, take a big old gulp of air, stick your head out the window, just get your breath back, find your regular breath, and then just gather together anything that you noticed in that pause. Now, I gave us a couple of breaths in between. Normally, in that expiring breath practice, we would just do an in and out and hold, in and out and hold, in and out and hold, in and out and hold. And that really gets, it brings up a lot. I'll say that. It brings up a lot, at least for me. Maybe for some folks, it's like, hey, I'm a Navy SEAL. This is good for me. But I'm curious, what did show up for you? You can put that over in the chat. Got a couple minutes left. We'll take those 2 hands as shares, but everybody else, you can go ahead and put those things in the chat. And if you're a part of my group chat or even Czar's group chat. Go ahead and put your answers there if you don't get an opportunity to share with your voice, but you really want to, or you don't have some space or time to put it over in the chat. All right. Yeah, before we get into those two, what do you have come up for you, Czar?
First of all, I had to come back to life because
Yeah.
that whole debate, that whole,
Okay,
that whole. Listen, bro, Mike, no, not to ask me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, had to come up from the air. I just kept thinking about like even in that trying to stay focused on the breath part. I could feel. I don't know what you would call it though, because I'm horrible with the somatic stuff, but it's like I could feel like it felt like a fading. I don't know, just like a fading away. But not so much. And then my thought went to the fading away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this fading away over here? What is this that's going on? I didn't feel disrupted per se, because the whole exercise within itself was very grounding. But it was just like this fading away, and almost if I'm seeing things just fall off of a shelf.
Yeah, or leaves fall off a tree.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Czar.
Yeah.
Right. What you got for us, Sasha?
I think Sasha had been up since her last
Oh, from
share,
the last
so
one.
everybody got to go
Okay.
to Kiki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Kiki and then Loretta. Okay. Go ahead, Kiki.
So for me, I felt like this is like dancing and I have no rhythm.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, failing again.
I mean, no, we're not going to do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it because you have your own rhythm. Just because it might not be, it's like its rhythm or your rhythm. Like just like it's time or my time. So we're not going to do the
Yeah.
failing thing to us.
Okay.
Thank you, Kiki. Go ahead, Loretta.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't able to do the hold. I did as much as I could.
Uh-huh.
It brought up a
It's
lot of
time versus your
feelings.
time.
Yeah, like for me, that I've shared, I think in your rooms before of like when I was arrested and I was just in a dark spot and I was just not okay. And it made me think about that time and when I've had different changes in consciousness. Um, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that I have to process. I think my body remembers more than I do necessarily about feeling that fold, and just kind of releasing what is coming up like physically. So I think I might have to do some more work into that because there's a lot there. Like I had to just take as many quick breaths as possible because it brought me back there. It was so interesting. I didn't know that the body could remember like that. So yeah, just thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mike.
Well, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, the body remembers. The body, just like the North,
Mm-hmm.
the body remembers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in so many different ways with so many different stimuli that happen to it. And that's just a reminder. We get stimulated in our societies. We are so overly stimulated and we don't realize where things come from. We think that it's one thing,
D-
but hey, it could have been the billboard that you passed by just a couple of days ago. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Czar.
Do you think that it's even just because and I want everybody to hear that it's done versus I'm done. Like even when Loretta was just saying that a minute ago, because we're so busy trying to fit the it's time
Mm-hmm.
in whatever form that may be, whatever form that
Mm-hmm.
may come in, we're trying to fit its time. And so everybody's losing their own rhythm because I have to fit into 4 time or
Yep.
other persuasions, four, one and the two and the four. And your rhythm, your own rhythm may not be in that. It's in something else, and we're trying to fit into a social structure, society, a place, a idea, or this is the way they say relationships have to go, or this is the way this has to be. And it's exhausting us in a way, or disrupting us in a way, or dysregulating us in a way that
Mm-hmm.
we're not paying attention to because our minds is like, keep up, keep up, keep up, keep up.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about that too, because even when you were counting initially, when you were saying breathe in for 4, and this always happens when I'm in some breathing thing. I'm breathing at a different pace than how they're counting. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4. It's like, wait, I didn't get there yet. You know, do you think
Uh-huh.
that that plays a part? And like I said, this plays out in all forms of living.
Yeah.
That we're trying to keep up with a time that's not our own,
Yes.
or a way that's
Yes.
not our own. Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
In the last, in one of the other sessions I did last year, because I did this same title just in a different way last year, but I
mm,
also had a what if the season is the reason? And in that one, I talk about
mm, mm,
calendar time versus seasonal time. It's like
mhm,
we have
mhm.
this calendar time that's overlaid on top of the seasons, and it's like each one of the things, each one of our months in the calendar, each one of the times of year in the calendar are asking us or demanding us, really,
Mhm.
compelling us to do certain things or feel certain ways. When the seasons offer us and our organics a more aligned and parallel process and cycle on how
Yeah,
to move. And so, yeah, there's so much of like you said, in many different areas that we're being compelled to move at a certain pace or a rhythm that maybe not doesn't match ours. And we're
yeah,
being told
yeah.
if we don't match it, then there's something wrong with you and you better fix that shit.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah, and I saw a lot in the chat too, just about like, oh, I was gasping for air. I couldn't really do it this way. This pace was a little bit much, and that's exactly what I'm getting at. That's exactly what I'm accessing when it comes to the way that I did the pacing, the number that I used, and I am an it in that moment. It's my time versus
Hmm,
your time,
hmm.
my capacity versus your capacity. And
Yeah,
how is that going to work for you? You can, as we're talking about, take that very same breath and do it that fits for you. If I invite people into practices all the time. I even put tiles in about the three pauses, 2 minutes, one prompt, and that's something that worked for me. Now, for other folks, you might have to take it down some. You might have to add more to it or something like that. But tailoring it to you is exactly the work. It's
yeah.
there's a thing here. How does it actually work for my ecosystem?
That's reminded me of like, and some of you have heard me say, when you're even on the Circles app and when you're in these places and you're listening to us and you're wanting us to give you these direct answers for things, and I say, get the concept of what we're talking about. Because if all of these tools mean nothing if you can't find it in you, or meaning
Mm-hmm.
for you, or how you need to modify it, how you need to adjust it to you, because we're given that you'll try to fall into a structure and hitting everything, all of these check marks by
Yep.
doing it exactly right instead of doing it as getting the concept, the spirit of what we're saying,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that through yourself or
Right.
whatever.
I did
So
this
man,
activity, but
yeah,
I didn't learn anything because I was so
yeah,
busy
yep,
doing it
yep,
right that I
yep,
forgot to learn something in it.
yeah, 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 yeah. Wow, man, this is good, sir.
I'm
Just even that
glad.
practice, yes, it's really good. And I wish for all of us just the courage to do, because I think a lot of these things, my mind is going to just authentically being ourselves in the midst of this, and just being truly present, of course, with life, but just truly being present our life, with our life, the life that's flowing through us, the breath that's flowing through us, both the actual physical breath for real, but just meaning your essence
Mm-hmm.
that's flowing through us, and how we're kind of placed or designed to show up, within, and only nobody can really tell us that but ourselves, I
Yeah.
think, and so really kind of having I'm wishing for everybody the courage to be our own essence, to be our essence. It all
Yes.
connects, I think, but it's like,
Yes.
but the courage to be the part we're stewarding.
Yes.
Mm,
I mean, we have a perfect example in our bodies. Like I keep referring to our bodies and ourselves as ecosystems.
yeah,
If you think about way back in anatomy or health class in school, when you went to anatomy, you have the skeletal, you had the circulatory, you had the
mm,
nervous, et cetera, and so forth. And all of those
yeah,
parts are a part of this body. That's just
yeah,
our bodies. That's not even the fullness of us, but just our bodies
yeah,
have multiple areas. And if my nervous system tried to be my endocrine system, I would be
yes,
fucked.
yes, yes, yes.
so we can allow those parts of us to be those parts of us, and then just go and say, oh, right, then me as this human being can connect to this other human being in ways that we don't even understand yet. But as long
Mhm.
as I'm being me and they're being them, we can coordinate on something beautiful together.
Absolutely. Wow. Man, Mike, where you get it from, brother? Where does it come from? It just where does
Me, my
it
essence,
just your
my
that's
ecosystem.
it. That's it.
It is.
Yeah, and I love it. See, this is why I feel like everybody has to just be who you are, because we would be missing out, man. If everybody was just being carbon copies, which I see a lot of that in the world, you
Hmm.
know, man, we would be missing out on some beautiful things. I remember saying to a friend, and we'll get out of here, y'all, but I remember saying to a friend, she was talking about like wanting, I guess, kind of wanting to be my best friend or kind of have like that. What I said, but then who's going to be you in my life if you were to take the place of somebody else in my life, somebody else
Hmm.
that has that spot? And it just makes sense to me in that kind of way. We need everybody to be who they are so that we're all receiving the fullness of what life, meaning the collective life, has to offer.
Yeah.
Man, goodness. Jeez Louise. Let me see. Is what's his name? No, Denard ain't in here no more. Dang it. I was gonna say, man, I like doing master classes with you better than I do Denard. But
But
he ain't in here, so it won't
he'll
land
listen
right.
to the recording
Oh, he'll
nonetheless.
listen to the playback, right? I love it. Man, any final thoughts? Any final thoughts, comments that you got for us?
uh, I just put over in the chat the tile again. Just make sure y'all grab that. April 18th. That's the next one. That's like a couple Fridays from now. And I'm just inviting you to take that practice and practice it. Put some
Mm-hmm.
alarms in your phone for 3 times a day and just go through. I'm going to breathe in as deep as I can. I'm going to breathe out as deep as I can. And then I'm going to pause and see how many cycles of those I can do so that I can just experience the expiration, being present with that ending. And then you might start to notice some connections that you make to other endings that you
Mm-hmm.
have in your life.
Yeah. Wow. Man. All right, Mike. Mia, can we save it for next time? Mia's one of those. I'm gonna pick on her in a minute. She'll wait
I'm
to the last
ordering
minute.
DoorDash then.
See, look at you.
I was gonna say breathing will bring us back to our essence because you and Mike is a good team. Thank you.
Oh,
Mm,
we appreciate that. We received that from you, lady.
yeah, thank
All
you.
right. While you ordering your DoorDash. All right. All right, y'all. Listen, I hope y'all really enjoyed this session and you got something from it. Please be a part of part 2. Again, this is one of those things, if you can, don't pressure yourself too much, but when things come up in our consciousness and they come to us, grab as much of it as you possibly can. These things are here to help move us through life. And I like to say move us through life as ourselves, so grab it if it was rich for you, if it's rich for you, and try to be at that next one. And do the practices as Brother Mike has laid out for us. And if you enjoyed these sessions, as I always say, let circles know these are the kind of things you like, man. And so we can jump on them and just be kind of offering what you need here. If you don't like it, though, if you don't like it, because sometimes you don't like it, there is the number to Chick-fil-A. You can Google it and you can call them. They will take care of it. It will be their pleasure to take all of your complaints. It will be their pleasure. All right. So anyway,
How
all
do we
right,
find
John.
out about the one in April, please?
What about it? What about the one in April?
Well, how do I, get a reminder thing?
You
How can
should
I find it in the
You
app?
should see it on the app. How did you see this one? How did you
Well, it was live and I clicked in.
Oh, okay. Because it'll do the same thing. Like it should show up in your list of available
What
circles. I don't think that there's not
it won't
alerts, are
show
there?
up it won't show up until the week of. So the best
Right.
way for
Okay.
you to get an alert for it is to put it in your phone. Put an alarm in your
Exact.
phone
Yeah,
for
put
Put a
that
it in your
day.
calendar.
Put
Okay.
it
calendar.
in your calendar.
Okay.
Yep.
For April 18th. Okay.
April
Okay.
18th.
Great. The 20th is my birthday, so that'll be a fun day.
When is your
That'll
birthday?
be the 20th, which is
Of
Easter
April?
this year. Mm-hmm.
All right, come on. Come on, friend. I'm
Why
the
is that your
27th
birthday,
though.
too?
Oh no, I'm the 27th. I'm a few days after
For
you.
the 27th? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
both Taurus anyway.
Yep.
And Yep. But for a long, long time, I thought I was on the cusp of something. No. Anyway, okay, I'll look forward to
Oh,
it. And Mike, thank you very much, everybody.
all
It
right.
was a great thing. I liked it. And then
Awesome.
somebody maybe tell me how to tell circles that we want more.
Once this closes, it'll be a little pop-up thing,
Oh,
and you can put in some comments and things right there.
okay. Well, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all. Listen, y'all get on up out of here. Have a good weekend. Don't do nothing that I wouldn't do. You can do some stuff Mike would do. Don't do nothing I would do. All right. All right. But have a good weekend. And I will see some of y'all next week for these other sessions. Same bat time, same bat channel, or in some of the other circles, my circles or Mike circles. All right. And we'll holler at y'all later.
All right, y'all
Peace.
take care of
Thanks, everyone.
yourselves.
Thanks,
Good
Mike.
weekend.
For sure. Right. Yeah. Peace. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Czar.